are interviewing Miss Lottie.
How are you today?
I'm good.
I have a couple of questions to ask you.
All right.
Okay. When did you first come to Newton County?
Oh, let's see. That was 1955, June
What was it
1st.
like for African Americans?
Well, at that time, we didn't have some of the opportunities that they had, especially with projects such as the types of projects that we could enter in. Yet we were in competition. Let's back up a bit and talk about those days before integration. The only meeting place we had was in the homes or in a church or one of the black churches. So then there was the county had what was known as, well, it still is, the Snap and Show's EMC building, and it was located in what is City Hall now, right down on Emory Street. Now this is where it was located. So I thought, well, why can't we meet there? You know, being this daring person. So the county agent said, oh no, we don't do that, you know. So one day I made up my mind, I'm going over and talk to Ed Robinson, who was the CEO at that time. And of course, he just sort of smiled and looked at me and said, why do you want to meet here? And I said, because we have no space to meet here. So he said, well, I'll tell you, I will think about it, and then I'll give you a call. So I proceeded to give him my telephone number, because if you're going to call me, you need a number. You need to know how to call me. So he did, and he said, okay, well, you can meet here. So then we started meeting over there. Now, this was before integration, but sometimes it just takes a daring person to get it going. So, all right, we did this for a while. And of course, but we did not leave off the schools in the little community and in the homes. When we moved to the courthouse, and this was integration now, so we moved to the basement of the courthouse, and the county agent and myself, we shared the same room, little office space. And of course, the 4-H Club was another part of my agenda, the group that I worked with. And at that time, we did not have integration too much with 4-H Club statewide programs, but I decided that, oh yeah, we need to do something about this. So pretending I didn't know any better, I did know better, but I pretended I did not know better. So I prepared a girl, and her name was Ruth Ella Sawyers. Ruth Ella is deceased now. But Ruth Ella was sent to a leadership program that was being held. And of course, it was only my counterparts, the other agents in the state, that became very upset about it, because I think everybody else was too afraid to say anything. So they didn't comment about that. They just said, she's crazy, you know, and I guess maybe I was. But as I said, I was a daring person. So Ruth Ella said that this was the best time she ever had at camp, because everybody gave her the attention. She was the center of attraction. And of course, that was one of the things that sort of opened up the way. Before then, the Black 4-H Club camp was at Dublin, Georgia. The whites went to Rock Eagle. Later on, when we were integrated, then of course we were allowed to, the blacks were allowed, they sort of closed down Dublin as just a temporary home demonstration agent. Was going back to school, and this was in '72 now, we had advanced up. And so this left me in position to become the home economist of the county. And by the way, I was the first black appointed home economist in the state of Georgia in a predominant during this process, really, some very hard time. I found myself having to document everything. I was devastating, and I think that's the word I want to use, was that my coworker was white, and see, now that I'm a home economist, my position is over everybody else that's in home economics in the office. I believe I can get it going. And you wouldn't believe some of the things I did that was not in my job description. For instance, a little old lady out there that wanted a pie baked, I baked it for her. Who cared? Nobody else knew I was doing it. I didn't have to advertise it. But if that was going to get me the things I wanted, yeah, I baked that pie. Yeah, there was one lady that I taught. She worked with 4-H Club, and I'm over her. For some reason, on the day that we were supposed to visit him, she was ill. She called the office and she couldn't come in today. But my daughter and a friend of mine, a white friend of mine, her son and my daughter had started school together in kindergarten. And of course, here they were in high school, what have you now. So I called her and say, hey, come and ride with me. You know, I believe in the man above taking care of you in the time of need. So I called her and she rode with me out there. When we got there, I got out the car and went to see if anybody was there. It's a little old house out on Salem Road. Didn't look very much lived in. So I knocked on the door and this tall white guy, very flushed, he was red in the face. Red because he had been consuming alcohol. Okay, when I opened the door, the first thing I saw the second thing, I saw him first. And it was frightening, believe me. So I looked down, there was one little table sitting there, and on that table were 2 glasses. And seemed like a half of a fifth of alcohol. So I go back to the car. I didn't say anything to him other than saying I'll be right back. I go back to the car. Okay, invited my friend in with me. I did not explain to her what was happening. I just said, come on and go with me. And so when we got back to the door, he said that, well, you didn't tell me you was bringing anybody with you. I said, oh yes, and I have some bulletins for you. You know, I'm being all professional and what have you now. So I have some bulletins for you, and I looked around and there was no other furniture in the house. I mean, really, yeah, your mind is going where it's supposed to.
Okay.
All right, a real setup, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you are. All right, so I hand him the bulletin and say, okay, go through these bulletins, and if you find anything that you need to question me about, then give me a call. And of course, I had my little card, you know, hand him a card with my name and telephone number and everything on, hand that to him. He took that, and I could see that he was the most disappointed person. But he should have been thanking God, because when my husband passed, I got a permit to carry a gun. I think I want to share that. I got a permit to carry a gun because here my son was away in college, and it was just my daughter and I. So I thought I needed that. All right, if I had gone alone, can you imagine what would have happened? A white friend of mine, first to speak, she said, Lottie, that was a setup. Don't you dare go back to this place. And I said, I have no intentions of going back. All right, carried her home, went back to the office, and everybody wants to know, well, how did it go? Never said a word about it. Excuse me. I thought, okay, I'm going to find out who did this.